I still remember the smell of that classroom, chalk dust, old carpet, and coffee that had been reheated one too many times. Senior year, third period marketing. The day I decided I'd never let anyone tell me who I was meant to be. Mr. Clark stood at the front like he owned oxygen. Every sentence came out like a fact carved in stone. And that day, when I pitched my final project idea, a small app that could help local shops sell online, he didn't just reject it. He laughed. Right there in front of everyone. "Emily," he said, voice dripping with that fake polite tone teachers use before a punchline, "you're creative, sure, but you're not realistic. You'll probably change majors 3 times before you figure out what you actually want to do. Let's not chase fantasies, okay?" The class laughed with him. I felt my ears burn. You ever get that hot rush that starts in your chest and crawls up your neck? That was me, standing there with my half-finished poster board and a dream that suddenly felt stupid. But something in me snapped that day, not out of anger, more like ignition. I smiled, nodded, and said, "Sure, Mr. Clark." Inside, though, I promised myself, "I'll show you. One day, I'll show you." Graduation came, then college. Everyone scattered, chasing scholarships or safe jobs. I didn't have either. I went to community college, worked nights at a diner, and kept sketching app ideas in my notebook between customers. You know how people say, follow your passion? Yeah, passion doesn't pay rent. But stubbornness might. I took every free online course I could find about coding and business. Failed a ton. My first app crashed so bad my laptop screamed. But slowly, piece by piece, I learned. By 23, I was freelancing websites for local shops. By 25, I'd built a tiny team, just me, my best friend Jess, and a guy named Marco who worked from his garage. We called ourselves Sprout Tech. It wasn't glamorous. We'd meet at a coffee shop with peeling paint, plug in 3 laptops, and pretend we owned Silicon Valley. But when our first client doubled their sales because of our online system, that was my first quiet victory. No champagne, no applause, just the sound of a PayPal notification and a feeling in my chest that said, keep going. Life wasn't perfect. My car died twice that year. I slept 4 hours a night. My parents thought I was wasting time. Emily, my mom said, you could still get a steady job at the bank. Yeah, because nothing screams joy like color-coded spreadsheets for someone else's dream. Still, some nights I almost gave in. But every time I doubted myself, I heard his voice, "You're not realistic." And that line would light me up all over again. By 28, Sprout Tech had grown into something real. We built e-commerce systems for small American businesses, bakeries, auto shops, bookstores, the people who make towns feel alive. We weren't big, but we were respected. Then came the moment that changed everything. A national retail chain contacted us. They'd seen our work through a local store we helped. They wanted a proposal for a full-scale rollout. That deal would mean we'd have to hire, rent an office, become official. I remember sitting there the night before the presentation, staring at the logo on my laptop, whispering, "Okay, Emily, don't blow it." We didn't. We landed it. And suddenly, I went from surviving to leading. We moved into a small downtown office, glass windows, decent coffee, actual chairs that didn't squeak. The first morning, I stood there looking out at the skyline, and for a second, I thought about that classroom. About the girl holding her poster board while her teacher laughed. If she could see this, she'd smile. Fast forward a few years. We were mid-growth, about 40 employees now, building real tech that made small businesses competitive again. I'd gone from designing on my couch to managing teams, contracts, investors, the whole shebang. One Monday morning, my HR lead came into my office with a file. "Hey, we've got a new applicant for the marketing coordinator role. You might want to take a look." Normally, I didn't review resumes myself. But that morning, I was sipping coffee, half bored, so I skimmed through it. Name, David Clark. For a second, I froze. My first thought, no way. But there it was, same college, same timeline. He'd gone corporate after teaching, climbed a few ladders, then apparently got laid off last year. My teacher, the man who told me I'd never make it, had just applied for a junior marketing position at my company. I set the mug down slowly, heart thudding. Is this The Mr. Clark? I asked. My HR lead shrugged. Seems like it. Want me to skip him? And I don't know why, but I said no. Schedule an interview. That week felt like slow motion. Every day I thought, what am I gonna say? Do I act cool? Do I remind him? Do I rub it in? But when Friday came and he walked through the glass doors, all those plans evaporated. He looked smaller. Not physically, just older, worn down, like life had sanded off his arrogance. His hair was more gray than brown now, his suit a little outdated. Still, he carried himself with that same, I know everything posture. When he saw me, he froze. Emily? Hi, Mr. Clark, I said, standing to shake his hand. It's been a while. He blinked, then let out a nervous laugh. Wow, it sure has. You run this place. Yeah, I said, smiling softly. I do. You could feel the silence stretch between us like static. He looked around, reading the room, open floor plan, young team, the logo on the wall. I have to say, he murmured, this is impressive. Thank you, I said. Have a seat. We talked business first. I kept it professional. He actually had solid experience, but there was irony dripping from every line of his resume. 10 years ago, he graded my ideas. Now I was evaluating his. At one point, he said, trying to make small talk, you always had a spark, Emily. I guess I didn't see where it would lead. I smiled. Yeah, me neither back then. When the interview ended, he stood up and extended his hand again. It was great seeing you. And congratulations on all this. I shook his hand and said, you'll hear from us soon. After he left, my HR lead poked her head in. So, what do we do with him? I took a deep breath. We hire him. My team thought I'd lost my mind. You're gonna hire your old teacher? The guy who? Yeah, I said. Because revenge isn't about payback. It's about perspective. And honestly, part of me wanted to see how he'd handle it. Would he even remember what he said? Would he act like it never happened? His first day was surreal. He walked in with his company ID badge like any other new hire, sitting at a desk outside my office. Every now and then, I'd catch him glancing my way, half proud, half confused. One afternoon, I called him into a meeting. David, I said, catching myself, can you join us for the new campaign review? He smiled, of course, boss. Boss. That word hit different. Days turned into weeks. He worked hard, humble even. But one Friday, as we wrapped up early, he knocked on my office door. Got a minute? Sure. He stepped in, closed the door, and said quietly, I've been meaning to say something. I looked up. He hesitated. I owe you an apology. My stomach tightened. He continued, back in school, I was arrogant. I thought discouraging you would make you more practical. But I see now it probably did the opposite. I smiled softly. You're right, it did. He laughed awkwardly. I deserved that. I leaned back, studying him. You know, Mr. Clark, you taught me something after all. Oh, you taught me that limits are contagious. When someone who's supposed to believe in you doesn't, you start believing them. Unless you decide not to. He nodded slowly. That's a hell of a lesson. Yeah, I said, and now I get to teach it forward. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my office with the lights low, city glow flickering off the glass. You'd think victory would feel explosive, right? But it felt calm. Like closing a book you've carried for too long. The revenge wasn't the job offer. It wasn't power. It was peace. I whispered to myself, he gave me an F. I gave him a paycheck. And for the first time, the memory didn't sting anymore. It just smiled back. After that talk, something shifted between us. Mr. Clark, sorry, David, wasn't just my old teacher anymore. He was a man trying to rebuild, and I was a woman finally steady enough to notice. The first week after his apology, he kept his head down, learning our systems, staying late, taking notes like a freshman. And every time I passed his desk, part of me wanted to laugh at the irony, but another part wanted to tell him, it's okay, you're safe here now. Because that's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Work got busy fast. Sprout Tech landed 2 new contracts, a regional grocery chain and a national craft supply brand. That meant longer hours, new hires, chaos everywhere. but I'd learned to thrive in chaos. It was the sound of growth. Some nights, I'd look around the office at 10 p.m., half-empty pizza boxes, screens glowing, my team laughing through exhaustion, and think, this is what making it feels like. It wasn't money. It wasn't fame. It was building something that wouldn't have existed if I'd given up. One Thursday around midnight, I caught David still at his desk. Everyone else had gone home hours ago. Hey, old habits die hard, I joked, stepping in with 2 mugs of stale coffee. He smiled. Guest teachers never stop grading papers, only now they're proposals. We sat there, sipping in silence for a minute. Then he asked quietly, "You ever think about what drives you?" I laughed. Revenge used to. He nodded, like he already knew. Now, he asked. Responsibility, I said. For the people who believed in me when no one else did. He looked at me like he wanted to say something, but didn't. The next few months rolled by fast. We doubled our revenue, got featured in a small business magazine, even landed an interview request from a local news channel. They wanted to do a Women in Tech segment. I agreed, mostly because our marketing team begged me to. The day of the shoot, the crew showed up at the office. Lights, cameras, all that awkward excitement. I hated talking about myself, but I knew stories like ours mattered. Halfway through the interview, the reporter asked, "Was there ever a time someone told you you'd never make it?" I smiled slowly, almost laughing. Oh, plenty of times. But one stands out. I didn't name him. Didn't need to. I just said, I learned early that sometimes people who limit you are just speaking from their own fears. The trick is not to listen. David was standing in the back of the room during that shoot. Our eyes met for half a second. He gave the faintest nod, and I moved on. After the segment aired, business exploded. We started getting calls from everywhere, Texas, Florida, even Canada. And suddenly, Sprout Tech wasn't just local anymore. We opened a second office, hired more staff, upgraded everything. And through it all, David stayed. Never once acted awkward about our history. Just worked, steady, quiet, professional. I respected that more than I could ever explain. One Friday evening, we had a team happy hour. Someone pulled out old yearbooks on a projector for laughs. When my high school photo popped up, everyone howled. Then, out of nowhere, someone yelled, "Hey, what was Emily like in class, Mr. Clark?" The room fell into playful silence. David chuckled, shook his head, and said, "She was impossible." Everyone laughed again. He continued, always asking why not when the right answer was supposed to be yes, sir. She challenged every rule. Now I get why. I grinned. So I was the problem child? He smiled. No, you were the spark. That line hit me harder than I expected. Not because I needed his validation, but because it closed a circle I'd been running in for 10 years. Over the next year, the company kept growing. We built partnerships, hosted workshops for young entrepreneurs, started mentoring high school girls in tech. I didn't plan it, it just felt right. And guess who volunteered first for the mentorship program? David. He taught sessions on marketing fundamentals, but his real lesson was humility. One afternoon, I overheard him telling a group of students, "Don't let anyone, including teachers, define your limits." The girls scribbled notes, wide-eyed. And I stood in the hallway, smiling. If the universe had a sense of humor, this was it. The thing about success is, it doesn't feel like fireworks forever. At some point, it settles into rhythm, like a heartbeat you almost stop noticing. But every now and then, something reminds you how far you've come. For me, that moment came when our company got nominated for a National Innovators Under 35 award. When my name appeared on that list, I called my mom first. She cried, of course. Then she said, "You know who'd be proud? That teacher who told you couldn't." I laughed. "Oh, Mom, he already knows." The award night was fancy New York City ballroom, champagne, soft music. I wore a simple black dress, nothing flashy. As they called my name, I walked up, heart pounding, lights blinding. The host handed me the mic and asked, "If you could give one piece of advice to young dreamers, what would it be?" I said, "Believe the voice inside you louder than the ones that doubt you." The crowd applauded. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't thinking about revenge anymore. I was thinking about all the people still sitting in classrooms, swallowing their potential because someone older laughed first. When I flew back home, the office threw a small celebration. David handed me a bouquet with a note that said, "From your toughest critic." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. "Okay," I said, "you win this round." He smiled. "Nah, we both did." Months passed. I started speaking at colleges, ironically, sometimes at the same kind of schools that once told me to play it safe. Students would come up after and ask, "What if my teacher doesn't believe in me?" I'd smile and say, "Then make them wish they had." Every time I said it, I thought of him. Then, one morning, I got an email that brought everything full circle. A local high school principal wanted Sprout Tech to sponsor a new entrepreneurship lab for students. They were naming it after one of their retired teachers, Mr. David Clark Innovation Lab. I just sat there staring at the screen. He hadn't told me a word about it. Apparently, he'd spent the past year volunteering at that same school on weekends, helping kids build projects. When the lab launched, they invited me to speak. He insisted on sitting in the audience. Halfway through my talk, I said, I once had a teacher who told me I'd never make it. Turns out, he made me stronger. The crowd laughed softly, not realizing he was right there in the front row, smiling with teary eyes. Afterward, he came up and said, "You didn't have to mention me." I shrugged. "How could I not? You're part of the story, just not the villain anymore." He chuckled. "Guess we both learned something." "Yeah," I said. "You taught me what failure sounds like. I taught you what it looks like when it fights back." We laughed, hugged, and that was that. That night, I drove home with the windows down, city lights flickering by. 10 years. 10 years from humiliation to peace. From you'll never make it to we made it. And somewhere out there, another girl was probably hearing those same words. I hoped she'd stumble across this story someday and think, okay, if she could do it, so can I. A year after the Innovation Lab launch, life started moving faster than I could process. Sprout Tech had grown from a small-town dream to a national name. We weren't some overnight miracle. We were a team that had bled, cried, and laughed our way through the trenches. There were times I'd walk through our new office, a glass building overlooking the city, and catch my reflection in the window. And for just a second, I'd see her, that 17-year-old girl who got laughed out of class. I'd whisper, "You made it," under my breath. Then I'd turn back to my desk, smile, and get back to work. Because here's the thing about revenge, it's powerful fuel, but it burns out fast. At some point, you've got to build something that lasts longer than your anger. One morning, I got an email from a high school in Oregon. They wanted me to come give a keynote speech for their graduation. Their principal wrote, "Our students read your story in Entrepreneur magazine. They'd love to hear from you." I almost said no, but something told me I needed to go. Maybe because Oregon wasn't just anywhere. It was the same state where I'd gone to school, where all this began. So I said yes. Graduation day. June sunshine, rows of folding chairs, proud parents holding up phones. I stood behind the podium in my blue blazer, hands slightly shaking, not from nerves, but from memory. I started talking about failure. About how the world doesn't end when someone underestimates you. It begins. I told them about the rejection emails, the sleepless nights, the people who laughed before they listened. And then I paused, looked out at the sea of faces and said, someone once told me I'd never make it, that I wasn't built for success. And maybe they were right, I wasn't built for their version of success. I had to build my own. The audience clapped softly, like they felt that in their bones. Then I said the part that really mattered. If you ever meet someone who tells you you can't, don't try to prove them wrong. Prove yourself right. That line wasn't rehearsed. It just came out, and it stuck. After the ceremony, students lined up to hug me, take pictures, ask questions. One girl with freckles and braces said, "My teacher told me I should pick something easier." I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Then make her eat those words someday," with a smile. When I got back home that night, I opened my laptop and found an email from David. Subject line, "Thanks for teaching me too." It said, "Emily, I saw the clip from your graduation speech. You were extraordinary. If I ever told you you couldn't make it, it's because I couldn't imagine anyone doing what you've done. I was wrong." You didn't just make it, you changed the game. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey. I stared at that email for a long time before replying. I typed, "We both grew up, didn't we?" And that was all I needed to say. A few weeks later, we held our company's annual leadership retreat. We flew everyone out to Lake Tahoe, quiet cabins, clear water, crisp mountain air. It was the first time I truly let myself slow down. We had a team dinner by the lake one night. The sunset painted everything gold. Someone asked, "Emily, what's been your proudest moment so far?" I thought about all of it, the awards, the interviews, the contracts, the money. And yet, none of that felt like the answer. Finally, I said, "My proudest moment? Hiring the person who once doubted me and watching them find purpose again." The table went silent for a second, then erupted in applause. I smiled, took a sip of my wine, and let the lake breeze wash over me. That night, I realized revenge wasn't about winning over someone. It was about healing the part of you that once needed to. The following year, Sprout Tech hit a new milestone. We crossed $100 million in revenue. I didn't post about it. Didn't celebrate with fireworks or fancy parties. I just walked into our empty office early one morning, turned on the lights, and whispered, "We did it." Then I looked over at the empty desk that used to be David's. He'd retired that spring, moving to a small coastal town with his wife. Before he left, he told me, "Every teacher dreams of having a student who proves them wrong, but in the best way possible." I hugged him and said, "You got your wish." He chuckled, "You mean you got yours?" "Maybe both," I said. A few months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo frame, a picture of me and him standing in front of the Sprout Tech logo, both smiling. Behind it, a small handwritten note. "You gave me my own second chance. For that, I'll always be grateful. Keep lighting fires, Emily. D." I smiled, placed it on my office shelf, and sat back in my chair. Funny how life works. The person who once embarrassed me in front of 30 kids ended up teaching me the most profound lesson of all. That growth can turn even the deepest cuts into wisdom. That fall, I launched a new initiative, Project Spark. It was a mentorship program for young women in small towns who wanted to start their own businesses. We funded workshops, startup grants, even laptops. At our first event, I told the crowd, "When I was 16, I thought my story ended in a classroom." Turns out, that was just the first chapter. And from the back row, a young girl raised her hand and asked, "Do you ever forgive people who doubted you?" I smiled and said, "Yes, because forgiveness isn't about saying they were right. It's about freeing yourself to move forward." Months went by, and I started noticing something amazing. The girls who joined Project Spark weren't just learning, they were winning. One opened a bakery that went viral on TikTok. Another launched a social app that got angel investment. They were fearless. And every time one of them succeeded, I felt like that teenage version of me was cheering too. Then came the day I never saw coming. A letter from my old high school. The one where it all began. They wanted me to come back, not to speak, not to donate, but to have the new computer lab named after me. The Emily Carter Innovation Wing. When I stepped through those old hallways, everything felt smaller. The lockers, the desks, even the smell of chalk and pencil dust. But what really got me was the plaque by the door, dedicated to those who refused to give up. The principal asked me to say a few words. I stood there, looking at rows of students who reminded me so much of myself. And I said, 10 years ago, I was sitting where you are, thinking life had already decided who I'd be. But the truth is, it hadn't even started yet. So don't ever let anyone write your ending. That's your pen, your paper, your story. As I spoke, I caught sight of something that almost made me laugh through the tears. In the back corner, hung on the wall, was a framed photo of the school's former faculty. Right there, Mr. David Clark. Still smiling, that half-grin I once thought was condescension. Now I saw it for what it really was, pride, buried under decades of habit. That night, when the event ended, I stayed behind for a while, just walking those halls alone. I ran my fingers along the lockers, like touching a ghost of my past. At the end of the corridor, I found the old classroom where he used to teach English. The door was half open. Inside, a young teacher was tidying up papers. "Can I help you?" she asked. I smiled. "No, just visiting an old battlefield." She laughed politely, not really getting it. Before leaving, I looked at the empty whiteboard and whispered, "You were wrong, Mr. Clark." I made it, and I made sure others will too. Driving home that night, I didn't play music. Just silence and the sound of the tires against the road. Somewhere between the past and the present, I felt something shift, like my story had finally exhaled. For so long, I'd chased success to prove something. But now, success wasn't about proving. It was about purpose. Legacy. People sometimes ask me, if you could go back and change that moment when he told you you'd never make it, would you? And I always say no, because without that moment, none of this happens. Without the sting, there's no spark. Without the rejection, there's no redirection. He was wrong about my potential, but right about one thing: I wasn't ready then. But I became ready because of it. Today, I run 3 companies, mentor hundreds of young women, and teach part-time at a community college, just for fun. Sometimes I even quote him in class. Not his words, but his lesson. I tell my students, every time someone doubts you, that's a deposit in your motivation account. Save it. Because one day, you'll need it to build something they'll wish they'd believed in. They always laugh, but I mean it. Last week, a student asked, "Miss Carter, do you still talk to that teacher?" I smiled and said, "Not much." But every time I help someone believe in themselves, it's like we're still having that conversation. Because in a way, we are. Only now, I'm the one grading the papers and giving out A's for effort. If I could go back and say one thing to my younger self, it'd be this: you're not hard to teach, they just haven't figured out how to reach you yet. And maybe that's true for all of us. Now, when people hear my story and say, "Wow, you really got revenge," I smile and correct them. "No," I say, "I got peace." The revenge was just the trailer. The real story was about growth. Because in the end, revenge fades. But becoming everything they said you couldn't? That's forever. He gave me an F. I gave him a paycheck. But more importantly, I gave myself a future. And that, my friends, is how you turn failure into freedom.